Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today we are kicking off the second half of our summer interview series with an interview with my friend Stephanie Cofield, who owns Celebration Creations. And we are focusing on retail, which is something I know nothing about. So Stephanie gave an incredible interview that not only applies to people who are interested in opening a retail location for your balloon business, but there are so many gems in this interview that are relevant to any kind of balloon business owner. So if you don't have a retail shop, don't tune out because, oh my gosh, Stephanie is just amazing. She's an incredible person. You're going to fall in love with her when you hear this interview. And I just had such a fun time chatting with her. And she just deserves all of the success that she has found in her business. I'm just so thrilled for her and how her business is growing and how she is building a business that works for her. So retail has always been a dream of hers, and she pursued it even though there were some naysayers in her life. So I just loved this interview. I can't say enough about Stephanie. We are friends from Balloon Boss Mastermind. I remember chatting with her over lunch years ago in Florida and have just been such a fan ever since. So this kicks off actually a 2-week retail episode series. So next week we will also hear from a retail owner. So if you are not home-based, if you are wanting to move into a brick and mortar, tune into these 2 episodes for sure. Now, one last thing before we jump in, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to any of you who have sent me messages or emails about the podcast. I don't always get back to people as fast as I'd like to or as thoroughly as I'd like to, but oh my gosh, when I get messages from people, it seriously makes my week. I just heard from someone in Australia, someone from Europe, someone from just all over the world. You guys send me the nicest messages about how this podcast has helped you and your business. And I love when you say what action steps that you took. It makes me so happy that I can help, that these interviews help, that we've built this little community kind of supporting each other and helping each other grow. So it just means the world to me when I get messages from you guys. So if you have anything to share, I love to read it. Like I said, I don't always get back as quickly as I'd like. One of my toxic traits is reading an Instagram message and then forgetting to respond. What can I say? I'm sorry. I'm the worst. But oh my gosh, I just love hearing from all of you. It makes me so happy. So let's take a quick break and head over to the UGlu hotline and then jump into this fabulous interview with Stephanie. Welcome to the UGlu hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks. Brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail.
Hi, my name is LaTanya Tharp. I have enchanting experience in Northwest Indiana. So my question is for the all foil, the star backdrop. How do you construct that design?
Okay, cool question. So starpoint balloons kind of go together in a pattern to create these starpoint walls. That's what this question is referring to. And in order to connect each balloon to the next balloon, I have tried a variety of things. I've done UGlu dashes. I have done packing tape, which actually failed. It did not hold up overnight, so I do not recommend packing tape. And I've also stapled, which is a surprising option. So out of those 3, UGlu dashes and stapling are my preference. So that might sound really strange to staple balloons, but these starpoint balloons that Qualitex makes are very cool because they're heat sealed on the corners, almost like too much, like in a good way, because it gives you an inch or so that's not actually part of the balloon. Like if you imagine where you're inflating the balloon by the nozzle, underneath the inflation point, there's like a little bit of extra balloon where you tie the ribbon, and that's not actually like that doesn't inflate. That's just heat sealed together. Starpoint balloons have that on all 4 points, meaning you can actually just staple balloons together and you're not going to puncture the part of the balloon that needs to hold the air. So it's a really cool design, and that's how you basically attach them all together in rows and then columns, and you can build these very cool walls. Another tip is that you can actually lay them all out in your shop and attach them all together in like a big sheet. And as long as you keep that nozzle point exposed, you can fold up the entire sheet, bring it on site, and then inflate at your venue, and it saves you a bit of time, because the whole process of unpacking your balloons, laying them out, attaching them together, inflating them, it's a really long process. So if you can cut corners and have it kind of pre-assembled and just ready to inflate like one big sheet of balloons, that actually saves you a bit of time. So if you're not sure what I'm referencing with these Starpoint walls, Elevated Impressions on Instagram has some really good examples. They do beautiful work. I'm a huge fan. So does Charming Garlands. She has done some very cool Starpoint walls. And so does Tope, who is Balloon Inspirations. He not only does walls, but he build sculptures out of Starpoint balloons and the little Starpoint balloons. So some people to go and look up if you are looking for some inspiration. And foils are a bit of an investment. They're more expensive, but they do give a really unique look, and you can build very large walls, very large panels pretty quickly. So even though they're more expensive per balloon, you're filling a lot more space for each individual balloon. So I actually don't think foils are that expensive when you compare them to latex, because you need, if you were building a wall out of latex, you would need so many more balloons, versus these Starpoint walls are almost like flat panels, and they work together in like a modular way. So they're very cool. So if you haven't checked out these Starpoint walls yet, head over to those Instagram accounts, check them out, and get some inspiration there. So thanks so much for the question. That was a very cool one. Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, UGlu, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on UGlu when you buy directly from Having a Party using code BRIGHT at checkout.
All right, welcome to another episode. We are chatting with Stephanie. We are mastermind friends, Balloon Boss Mastermind. I remember meeting you back at Summit, and I feel like we've kind of been growing at the same rate, but in very different ways. So I'm really excited to chat with you. You went the direction of retail, which I know nothing about. So I'm really excited to chat with you. But before we jump in, give us an introduction. Tell us about you and your business.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. And hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I'm Stephanie Cofield. My company is Celebration Creations. We're located in Manahawkin, New Jersey. It's in the Jersey Shore area. So we have a very mixed and diverse community of what we call the Bennies, people who come from Brooklyn, New York, and Philly, and then the local people who stay here year round. So it's an odd mix and sometimes an odd type of business because people aren't always here.
Yeah.
And I live in the state of New Jersey, and it's what I call a 2-hour state. So from top to bottom, you can go takes 2 hours. So I travel a lot around the state doing work, as well as having my retail shop. My retail shop is called the Balloon Boutique.
Oh, okay. So it has a different name.
Yeah, well, it's Celebration Creations Balloon Boutique. So people find me both ways. If you Google it, you can get both, actually.
And you're still very much doing on-site installations?
I largely do on-site installations despite having this retail space. I opened the retail space sort of as a dream. It's something I've always wanted to do. I looked into it multiple times. I've tried it in various different ways on a very small scale, like weekend flea market situations and things like that, or pop-up shops. But this was my dream. And once my kids were grown and raised, I said that I was going to have a shop. And so here I am, about 1.5 years in.
So what about it? What about it was your dream? Like the idea of having a place you could set up and have people come,
Mhm.
or like what about it was so appealing?
A couple of things. One, I was trying to cater to the inner shy in me. I'm not very shy. I'm pretty outgoing, but for the most part, I never liked the cold call concept. And I love social settings. So I get along really well with people. I thought I always wanted a place where people could come and I could have conversations and talk. That was one of it. Second part of the dream was that I wanted to get the mess out of my house. I've worked from my home for over 20 years since I moved to Manahawkin, and it's been great, but it's also been horrific. It takes over your house, I'm sure you know. Even if you have a dedicated space, which I have a really large walkout basement that was dedicated to it, and I have an above ground garage that has the roll top doors, it still overwhelmed the
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
interesting. I didn't know you had been doing balloons for 20 years. I guess I thought we were more similar just because I'm like 8 years, 9 years, but I
mhm,
guess we kind of took the steps out of our homes around the same
yes,
time, which is why I
yes,
thought we were similar. But yeah,
yeah.
you're a veteran. You've been at it a long time.
If I tell you how long I've been doing balloons, it's been since 1989.
Oh, wow. So this really was a long time dream. Well,
It was a long
congratulations.
time ago. Yes, yes. So, yeah, I started out, I went to college to be an accountant, started first job as an accountant, and the first company I worked for went out of business and decided I don't want to work for anyone else.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I've done this sort of, as I raised my children. So it wasn't always full time, but for the most part, I've been what I call a work from home mom,
Okay.
and I've worked it full time. It was a good source of second income, and now it's a great income.
That's amazing. Okay. So
Yes.
before we start talking about retail, why did you rule
Mhm.
out a warehouse? If you wanted the space, you like the social aspect, but what
Mhm.
benefits did you see retail bringing you that a warehouse or just like a rented, garage wouldn't give you?
Actually, I didn't see it that way, or I didn't even weigh it in light of whether I wanted a warehouse space. I did have a warehouse space at one point that I worked out of, but because I felt very uncomfortable making the cold calls, and that's a past tense statement that I'm making because I'm much more comfortable
Oh,
now.
good.
I always thought, and I believe that dream about if you build it, they will come. So I kept that, even though I knew that wasn't true. I still hoped that if I build a retail place in the right spot, that I would have that interaction that I've always wanted. And so for the most part, the way I operate it is as if I'm still working from home, except I do get the people that come into the shop and I get to tell them about my service. And I've become way more comfortable with making cold calls and actually going after corporate. I didn't think I would do that in a warehouse space.
Hmm.
I honestly did not feel that I would go out and reach out to people. My demeanor has changed so much from being a Balloon Boss member and meeting people and getting tips and tricks on how to just make those calls and go after customers. So it's a big difference in probably since 2021 to now, and in my approach and just freedom from fear, honestly,
That's amazing.
about that.
Let's Mastermind a shout out. So if you're listening to us chat
Absolutely.
about this is like a group coaching program that we are both a member of. So we'll link it in the show notes. If you're like doing balloons alone, that's really hard. Like that's kind of my message. Like that's really hard. It gets a lot more like simple and easier and fun when you have
Hmm.
friends to chat with and ideas and questions and resources. So Balloon Boss Mastermind is a great place to go for that. And we will link it in the show notes. It's open to everybody. Like you can join us. It's not an invite only thing. So that
Right,
is what we
right.
are chatting about, and it has definitely
Hmm.
had an impact on both of our careers, I would say.
Absolutely.
So what was your first step? You got to the point where it was time to do the retail location.
Hmm.
I don't even know where you look for locations. Like, where do you even look?
Well, one trick that I learned from speaking to a couple of other people who were in retail, and I have school mentors and coaches that I work
Okay.
with. One of the things that they had suggested was keep an eye out for where is there another party store? Is there a party city near there? If there's a party city near where you live or where you're interested, that's a good place to start because they've already done the work of the demographics for you.
Oh, that's so interesting. I would totally assume it's the opposite, like get as far
Hmm.
away as possible. But yeah, like they're not going to put a location where there's no people.
Right, exactly. And we know from being in this business now that there's plenty of business to go around for everyone. One, two, they do not do what we do as well as we do, and in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So they're not true competition per se. And I'm actually friends with my party fair in my neighborhood. The owner and I share the same name. So we call each other, hey, Steph, how are you? And if I'm short on something, I call up and I'm working, what are you working on? I tell her the project I'm working on and I need something. And, so we've developed a relationship over the years and they don't feel threatened by me. There's jobs that I've had that I can't handle. I'll pass it over to them if it's not complicated and vice versa. So they're really not competition. It's a good market and they've already done the work for me.
That's
So,
so smart.
so that was one thing. And then I began to drive around my neighborhood. And I'll be honest with you, Sarah, I drove around my neighborhood and I had my eye on a place probably for 2 years, 2 years of seeing a place and sharing my dream and sharing my vision with other people. Bad deal. Naysayers are going to say nay.
Hmm.
And so what I discovered was there's more people who are willing to kind of crush your dream with practical thoughts than I need. I
Yeah.
am a dreamer. Dream big and go after it is what you should do. I'm not saying be foolish. Absolutely not. There was a lot of other things that I needed to do. And one of the things I said is things I wish I knew before I know what I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I'm learning in progress while I'm working the shop that I know that I would have done differently. But the one thing I wish I hadn't done is waited those extra years where someone else scared me out of it.
Hmm.
And because that was a little bit of a disappointment in myself that I let someone scare me out of my dream, talk me out of it. The particular place that I had in mind, believe it or not, there's a party store in there now.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
you had a good thought.
I had a good thought, and someone else is in that very spot. They're a little bit different from me, and actually, they consider me their balloon decorating service. So when they have an event, they refer people to me because they call themselves parties on a budget. So
Okay.
again, not my competition. People when they want something low key, they can go to them. But if they want something like the organics or a themed event, they'll send them over to me, and I give them a commission. So we work together.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, but it was a good idea. One of the things I would tell anyone who's looking to transition from home to retail is honestly make a decision about what type of business you want to run. I did not want to be a party store. I don't want to have paper products. I don't want to have gift cards or anything like that. I don't want anything that's going to collect dust or that I have to put on sale. you know.
Yeah. Well, and just from interviewing people, I feel like
Mhm.
I have a little insight that like those things don't
Mhm.
move very well. Like I've heard
No.
over and over, a lot of people find out the paper products just they don't sell like they thought they were going to.
Yeah, absolutely not. So if you look at Walmart and you look at the party stores and you go inside and you look at their product, pay attention to where they're making their money. If I stood in party fair, which I've done, and just watched and observed, people walk in and out, and all they were doing were buying balloons, in and out, buying balloons, and
Mhm.
I'm just observing, buying balloons, and how many people go and buy paper products paper goods that cost $7 for a pack of 24?
Yeah.
Not many. Yeah. So I thought that's not the smart thing to do. I don't want to carry any type of paper products. So yeah, there's absolute only thing in my shop that's other than balloons is things like stuffed animals and candy because I do Balloon Planet
Okay.
and that's a big bonus. So
Tell
I
me
have to
more.
carry
Can we
the
do a
things that they need.
sidebar and talk about
Hmm.
Balloon Planet? Because I'm really
Absolutely.
interested in Balloon Planet, but I feel like it's a bit of a mystery. I feel like people who have done Balloon Planet have done it forever. And
Hmm.
then new people, I don't know if they're not taking new people. I just don't know very
Hmm.
much about it. But people who are listening, Balloon Planet is like a 1-800-Flowers, right? So it
Yes.
like
Yeah.
people order online and then it gets distributed to certain balloon people. But you're
Right.
saying it worked
Exactly.
well for you?
It works well, and it probably is probably one of the best kept secrets in the industry, maybe because we're a little bit territorial. So basically, they sub out the work as people come in. So if you have multiple people in your area, it could get kind of dicey because you're all vying for the same customer.
Sure. Okay.
You understand? So that may be some of the reasons why people aren't really sharing it. I do tell people about Balloon Planet because there's people all over it's a nationwide
Yeah.
delivery
Well, and
service. And so
it's really helium heavy, right? Like it's a
mhm,
ton of bouquets and a
that's
ton of
the problem.
inventory. So like I
Yeah.
think someone like me probably, I don't know if it would be a good fit for me, but I don't keep an organized inventory and
Mhm,
helium's $1 million here. So I don't know that
right.
it would be profitable, but I am curious about it.
I think that has been the problem now is because helium is so expensive, and a lot of companies aren't even taking on new clients for
Mm,
helium. So that a few people that I've recommended haven't even been able to start because of that reason. So
okay.
if you can get helium and you are pretty organized at keeping inventory, I would say, yeah, you have to find someone else who is a Balloon Planet member to recommend you. That's how it works.
Oh,
And so
okay.
you refer the person, and then they do some kind of vetting process. And if you fit their needs, they'll go ahead and work with you. But I love it. It's sometimes hectic. It's sometimes hard to keep up with the inventory and things like that. I'm still learning. Another thing I did not understand is retail is a whole different beast than just keeping inventory for parties.
So tell me, like, what are some of the big differences, things that I wouldn't realize having a retail location versus having, let's say, a warehouse where people just can't come in?
Okay. First thing is the look. You can have your house, your shop, or whatever as messy as you like, and it won't bother anybody but your family, but they love you so. But you can't, you can't have that in a retail shop. Store standards to me are really a big deal because it represents, for me, the fact that we're creative. It represents the fact that we're detail oriented and that we're organized. Everything that you see when you walk in that shop to me speaks about how we are as event decorators as well,
Yeah.
because that's the type of service I'm trying to promote. So I'm very concerned about, what the shop looks like, changing over displays and things like that, making sure that the shelves always look stocked. You never want to buy from a store when the shelves look empty, right?
Hmm.
So the same thing goes for this place. So I had to come up with a way to not try to carry too much product, but also keep the store looking like a boutique, which I want. No empty pegs on my hooks and things like that. So that was important to me. So you really want to learn about managing inventory. That I didn't know. Before, we were just buying balloons for each specific job. And if you have something left, great, we
Right. I
had
have
it
like
for
a
the next
couple
one.
bags of every
Hmm.
color, but it's not like I don't like look at the SKU or like I don't have to
Right.
sell them, you know?
Hmm. So for retail, there's a lot of forecasting that has to go on. We do have to look at the seasons and look ahead to the season so we can start marketing. But I'm talking about forecasting so that you can buy product, so you can have it on hand just in case someone wants to come in. It's graduation season right now. I have a ton of balloons for graduation, and I want some on display. And then we have some that are flat that people don't see. But we want to be prepared for the customer that just walks in, and we get a lot of them, believe me. Last minute, oh, my graduation's today. That's what they expect in retail. So
Hmm.
if you're trying to make that decision, here's one key thing. Keep in mind that when you walk into Walmart, you don't want anything out of stock. When you
Hmm.
walk into Walmart and you want to find a paper product, or you want to find some cleaning product or whatever, you want to see it there. You don't want to say, oh, it's a special order. We come back in a couple of days, or it's a rush order. So the way I have to operate in a retail establishment is I have to make sure that when they come in, it's in stock, or we have
Hmm.
something to show them or offer them for the occasion. So I have to plan ahead. I have to think, okay, what are the next seasons, and get ahead of it before it sells out.
Hey friends, the next time you need to order supplies for your professional balloon business, head over to Having a Party Wholesale. They carry all of the brands that we love and need to run our profitable balloon businesses, and they are family owned and operated, and they know the business inside and out. They've even offered listeners of the podcast a 5% off coupon code when you use the code BRIGHT at checkout. So next time you need to order, head over to havenaparty.com.
Yeah.
Because
Is there like a program you use, or is this just in your head and it's something you're getting better at? Like how do you actually do that?
it's actually notebook, pad, and paper, and just honestly, my husband worked retail for so many years. It's in his head more than it is
Oh,
mine.
interesting.
So he has helped me a great deal. So I would definitely, I've started recently reading a lot of books on retail, Retail 101, Retail for Dummies, Kit. read anything like that, because I believe that you do have to plan things like forecasting. You have to plan and learn about that. That's not something that comes naturally. We're creative. We can do things on the fly with whatever we have. But when it comes to retail and actually being able to, I don't know, have enough of a six of one item because somebody walks in and they want six of the very same product,
Right.
you have to plan for that.
Well, the scariest thing about the walk-ins for me would be
Mhm,
selling to them face to face. Like I'm so used to selling via email or like occasionally over the phone,
mhm.
but that always comes after like an inquiry form. I kind of know what they want. But just like striking up a conversation and having to like use words to explain what the balloons are going to look like that seems really hard, really hard.
Well, that actually, I think, has been the best thing that I've had to do. It's for me easy, in other words, but I've had to train staff and it's not. So talking to them about building rapport, not always being a salesperson, but just being a helper.
Yeah.
When people walk in our shop, I hate the phrase, how can I help you? I don't know what that does to people, but for me, it's that, we just say, hey, thanks for stopping in. What made you come in and visit us? And people do sometimes say, oh, I just saw you. We didn't know you were here. We just wanted to look. Oh, feel free to look around, But if they have a need, we kind of have some cheats prepared. We have a couple of flip books that we have bouquets, and we say these are the most popular designs because we want to just the same way we say we sell what we show on Facebook and all, same thing in the shop. So we have
Yeah.
some flip books with different bouquets and things that we want to push them to. That makes it easy for that walk-in customer. So it won't stop our flow from doing what we want to do most, which is the event decorating. So we want those customers to come in, but we want to be able to help them quickly. And we want to help them decide quickly. And then we also want to show them what we could do if it's a larger event.
Yeah.
So we are still learning about that. I've tried practicing. We do role playing and things like that and I don't have a large staff, but when people come to work, we practice how to answer the phone and what to say on the phone. And some people say things better than me, so we steal their line and different things like that. So we're learning from each other. Again, I do have a bit of a sales manager background because I've done some part-time work, not even part-time, I would say. It was full time for a season where I was a sales manager for a large company. And
Okay.
so I recall some of the trainings that we had. We have what's called a playbook. And a playbook is sort of like if they say this, then you direct them this way. If that, then you direct them that way. So we have some things written out for that purpose. It's a
That's smart.
playbook, so to speak. Yeah. One of the other things I learned from retail is I have a binder called a lab binder. It's a leadership accountability binder. And basically everybody that walks in that works for us, they kind of have a step-by-step to-do list. So if I'm not here, you're not stuck. You're not lost about what to do today or what to check.
Yeah.
Everybody knows to check Balloon Planet 3 times a day. Everyone knows to check the email 3 times a day. Check for text because customers send us text, even though we ask them not to.
Yeah.
So, we have this sort of checklist every day. Some things happen all the time. So we have some processes in place to make it easier for retail. So I would suggest you take a little bit of look at what you do if you're home based. And if you're going to change to retail, start writing down what you do. What do
I
you
feel
do
like
every
all
day?
of this is relevant to home base too. I feel like this is so
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm drinking from a fire hose right now. I'm trying to take
Yeah.
all this in because I have an employee I'm trying to train and I don't have any of this stuff. Like it's all in my brain. So I am very much in that clunky process of like,
Yeah.
I love the playbook. I love the manuals. Like it all makes so much
Mhm.
sense. Even if someone's home based, even if you have a warehouse, this idea of having employees know what to do, even if there's nothing to do, quote unquote, like
Right,
that's
right.
so important.
So one of the things that I would tell anyone, even if you're just like a hobby now or part-time, treat it like it's a business that is a full-time business and always write everything down. Always create some kind of process. Even before I came here, I had a little book that said procedures. We were very manual at one time, credit card acceptance process. We had it all written down. So now it's changed because we're doing it through 17 hats. So you just change the process a little bit, but it was always written down. And one of the things I've learned is asking the people who are doing the job to write down what they do, because for me, In case you don't know, I do struggle with attention deficit. So for me to write things down in an orderly fashion, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
I'll skip a step,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
other words.
absolutely.
And so it's also hard for me to teach people. But if it's
Sure.
written down, I just do it. I'm not moved. I'll just do it. I'm like that usually. But if it's written down, it's easier for me to help someone else. So I say, even if you're just a home-based business, just doing it as a hobby right now or anything, still treat it as if it's a full-time business, because you never know when you want to shift, and then you'll be
Yeah.
prepared.
I had no intention of ever leaving my home. I had no
Hmm.
intention of ever quitting my job. I had no
Hmm.
intention of ever having an employee or a van. Like, and it all just kind of happens. And like all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's like, man, if I had just been preparing for the last 7 years, I'd be in a better spot right now for sure.
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to go. But my gosh, you said so many good things. Really quick, you mentioned 17 hats. I feel like I
Hmm.
didn't know that. Now I'm remembering that you are a 17 hats user. You use that for your on-site installs, or do you use that somehow for retail as well?
I use it for retail as well. Yeah.
Tell me everything.
Yes. Well, okay, so we have Square. Okay,
Okay.
so when the customer comes in, they just want to check out, we use it. But 17 hats is all, we have it on our iPad. It's right up front. So why not get them into your system right then and there? And then, hey, send them an email. Hey, thanks for stopping by the store. Just in case, this is what we do. Here's our general pricing guide. Right there
So
in the store.
smart.
Yeah, so we get them right in, and so they're automatically in our mailing list now. So when we send out a newsletter, it's already in there. It's all right there. And most people love it because we ask them, you want to be a part of our mailing list? We're going to send you some interesting things. They love it. Yeah, sure, why not? So
Yeah.
why not just do it right while we're up front? We're at the register and we're talking to them. Can we put you in our system? And they do. They say yes.
Oh,
So I
that's
love it.
great. That is
Yeah.
great. Very cool. And then the other thing you mentioned that I don't want to gloss over is staffing.
Mhm.
Because if you're doing these on-site installs, someone has to be back at the store, I'm assuming. So
Yeah.
how many people, I mean, like that, I feel like I would have a heart attack if I had a full staff all the time. But like, what is that like?
Well, you just said it, a heart attack when you have a full staff all the time. Sometimes we're not a big shop, right? So we're 1,200 square feet. And sometimes we, like right now, that's why I'm here in the car. There is 4 people in the shop inflating because we have a lot of jobs this today, tomorrow. We have a lot going on right now. So it's really tight, and trying to figure out how to make the most of the space and maximize the use of the people in that space is not easy. So that's one thing. But as far as the biggest thing I think is the struggle is making sure that you have someone when you're out doing a job.
Hmm.
So that wasn't always easy. I had to first decide, do I want to be open every single day? And so, no, we just had to say, okay, we're not open every day. One, so I'm definitely not open Sundays. I'm a church girl. I do not go anywhere but to church on Sunday morning. So
You don't
that's
do
where I'm at.
do you do installs at all on Sundays?
Ever since the last summit, no. I made
Interesting.
a commitment. I made a commitment that I don't work Sundays. And
And
it
you
has
don't,
panned out. I took one job on a Sunday a few months ago from a friend. She's a event planner who's Jewish, and I do all their events. And I always do them on Saturday night going into Sunday. This was the one time she asked me, and I said, I'm going to make you pay for it. And she said, okay. So I did it for her because she's a regular client. She's an event planner, and I love her and stuff like that. But Sundays are no, and people are okay with it. We
yeah.
tell them, actually, right now, they're telling me, oh, that's right, you're not open on Sundays. Oh, that's right, you don't deliver on Sundays. Can I get it delivered to me Saturday night? They're reminding me.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's amazing. I feel like myself included, a lot of people listening can't
mhm,
imagine not doing Sundays. Like, and I
mhm.
know a lot of I think the Jewish community, they don't do Saturdays, which blows
Right.
my mind even more. But it's like there are people working full time, taking half the weekend off, and it works. So
Mhm.
I work every single day and I need to get away from that. So that's nice to hear that you take Sundays off.
Yeah. So Sundays we don't work. We don't do setups on Sundays. We don't do deliveries or anything. My calendar, every balloon plant is always closed on Sundays. Mondays, my shop is closed. It's by appointment only. It's
Okay.
very funny. It's very funny how many people knock on your door on a Monday. Probably more than on a Tuesday. I kid you not.
Hmm.
Tuesdays we're open, and Mondays people are always knocking on the door. They don't get the sign. I don't know why, but anyway. But I keep it that way. And I thought about changing it for this summer, but I'm not. I'm going to keep it the way it is because we're in here on Mondays, cleaning up from the weekend, restocking, finding out what we have to do for the next set of events coming towards the end of the week. And we need that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally thinking about whether or not I'm going to make Tuesdays by appointment only also. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm probably going to try it throughout the summer, maybe August, because it's slow enough
Yeah,
that I
July
can
and
do
August
that.
are slow.
It's slow enough that I can do it. And then just see what the weekends bring. So yeah, you want to decide how many hours and if you want to be just a full retail shop or you want to do event decorating. I am still an event decorator.
Mm-hmm.
That is primarily what I do. So because of that, there are the days that I have to decide, well, retail is not that important. It has to look like my house looked. There are arches and columns and everything stacked to the side, and people come in and they kind of weave around it if they come in or whatever. And we apologize, and they're always like, oh no, this is great. This is what you do. So they're fine with it. I'm probably the one that complains the most about it being messy sometimes. Yeah.
Hi, this is Jeff from Balloon Suite by Asset Lab. We help balloon decor businesses bring in more sales and leads with a high-tech toolkit that includes your website, your domain, your advertising, your search engine optimization. Our plans start at $50 a month, and we'll even buy out your Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy subscription to help you get onto a platform that's made for and optimized for your business in balloon decor. Check us out at balloonsuite.com.
Well, then what do you sell in your shop besides inflated balloons? If you don't have the paper products, do you have bags of balloons? Are people are just coming in and getting bouquets or like cash and carry type of items?
Right. Just come in and get bouquets. We will make you an air-filled. We'll make something for you that's like an air-filled. We have the Balloon Boutique wall. That is through Qualitex. They give you a catalog of different bouquets and we show people those and they can pick in their mix of helium bouquets or air-filled bouquets. So they can choose from that. They're so things that are really quick and easy to make. Easy to repeat. So we have displays like that on display. And then candy cups, candy bouquets. And helium bouquets. That's it.
Most people are coming in to order bouquets, or a lot of people coming in to talk face to face about events?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. So we book, believe it or not, at this point, I'm thinking it's probably 50-50 through internet where people just click on my internet and send an inquiry. And then those people that come in the store. We have gotten so many event decorating jobs from people walking in our shop and they come in. And what I love about the shop is we may not go through the whole event and solidify everything that we're going to do. But one of my things on my little cheat sheet, they know we'll book out really quick. We need you to retain the date. So we get that little $100 retainer deposit.
Nice.
And that books them on the calendar so that we're working with you now. So they like seeing this. We have a board with the customers' names and the date. I had a lady come in the other day. She had booked it a while ago and she was now coming to do the planning. She's like, oh, it's on the board. She was excited.
Oh, I like that too, because then they also don't think you're lying. Sometimes I wonder, it's like, oh, well, you better make a decision now. And I feel like my arm's being twisted. But I think if they see how busy you really are, it's like, oh yeah, like I need to get that slot.
Yeah. So they come in and we'll do, a save the date invoice. That's what we call it. We send it to them. They pay $100. They're on the calendar. Some people come in and they want to pay more than that. They want to make sure that they're getting us. So we're happy with that. It's getting a good review. And I'm in a good neighborhood. One of the things was, this was not my doing. This was a godsend. Honestly, there was 3 places that I looked at. The first place I really wanted. I wanted so bad that I marched around the place 7 times like the walls of Jericho praying that, Lord, I want this place. And it wasn't even up for sale. It was a store that was just there for years and nobody had rented it. And it went up for sale. And that's when the dream killers came and they squashed my dream about how expensive it was and don't do it. And so now someone else is there. That's fine. And the other place, I was literally about to sign the lease. I was heading to the shop to sign the lease. It's straight up the street from me, a little ways off, and got the inkling, just go in and talk to the other tenants. Talk to the tenants next door and find out what kind of landlord you'd be dealing with. Didn't like what I heard.
Interesting. What type of things did they say?
Well, you want to look for a landlord. First of all, there's different types of leases, which there's something called a triple net where you're paying a lot of additional expenses on top of your rent. So you pay rent, then you pay for like landscaping, snow removal, lights outside. You're paying portions of the expense of the property. That's a triple net lease. I don't want that, and I don't want anybody who's in the balloon business to ever do that.
Okay.
Unless you
good to
have a
know.
huge space, like maybe if you had something like Balloon Masters, they might do that. I don't know. It's a huge space, but that is too much money to spend.
I think they own their building. I'm pretty sure they
They're
built it.
smart.
Yeah.
They're smart. Okay. So yeah, so you want someone who's going to take responsibility for repairs. I have the best landlord. Make sure the air conditioning is running, make sure that the property is kept up nice, different things like that. So that was one of the criteria. He was not that person. And I would not have known that because, of course, he was selling himself to me. But when I went and I spoke to the tenants and I told them very specifically what my needs are, I told them what I did for a living. And I said, I need a place that's always going to be air conditioned, climate controlled, different things like that. And they were like, they didn't say it out loud. Their facial expressions told me 50%. And then one woman, she was a hairdresser, and she said, woman to woman, I'm just going to take you to the side. She said, please don't tell them because I'm already his tenant and I don't want any trouble, but this is not a good place for you. So I appreciate that. But I would say if you're going to go into a strip mall like I'm in, then speak to the other people.
Smart.
And yeah, so speak to the other tenants and see what they have to say. Everyone that came into the facility that I'm in now, I was the first to come into this development or strip mall because COVID had shut everybody down.
Oh, interesting. So it was empty.
Yeah, it was empty. But the previous tenants I was able to speak to. One was a barber, one was a church. There was three other people. One was a restaurant, and I was able to speak to them. So it's always good to try to get that feedback. What else can I tell you?
So when the other one, the second option fell through, or you decided not to, was this your last option, or how did you decide on this?
So the second option fell through. I was driving home from the second option and drove down the block and looked to the right and saw the strip mall and turned in. And I turned in here, and I'm a weird person, Sarah, so don't judge me. So signs, I'm into signs. So I drove into the parking lot. There's a sign in the window says, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I want that space. And the name of the owner, she only had her first name and her phone number. It said Joy. Her name was Joy and the phone number. So I'm like, oh, I think I love this place already. Joy, I'm going to call Joy. So I'm looking at it, and it really is a nice place. And I'm looking through the window at the place, at the unit that I want. And it says inside, in God we trust, on the wall. So I'm like, seriously, God, okay. All right, I need one more sign. So I speak to Joy. She sends me the information. And the name of her corporation is Emmanuel Group. Emmanuel means God with us. I'm so silly. I believe God sends me.
That's not silly at all.
Right. So I said, this is the place for me. But the unit that I wanted was probably about $500 a month more.
Okay.
Because I wanted it because it had the double doors and it has the back. And you want people to be able to move in and out easy with their balloons. And so that was the unit that I wanted. And it was too much rent. And I told her. And so she offered me a different unit on an end. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, at a lower rate. So I was looking at that, but I really, really wanted the unit that I'm in. And I said, God, I just really want that unit. I don't know what else to tell you. I want the double door unit. And a week went by and she called me up and she said, do you really want that unit? And I said, yes. She said, you can have it at the rate that.
That's amazing.
I know. She and I love her. So she takes care of the unit really well. We had problems with the air conditioner the first day of summer last year. Immediately she fixed it. Anything go wrong, she fixes it, or she'll tell me to fix it, and she just sends me the money. She's been great. So I'm very grateful for the place that I'm in. So I would say, in terms of retail, if you're going to rent, find out about your landlord if you're renting from someone. If you can afford to buy, that's even better. Yeah. I know. If I had bought that place, the first place where everyone was, no, it's expensive, blah, 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 I probably would have been so much better off because it's not far from here. It's got great traffic, just like this one. It's right down the street and around the corner. So it's on one of the main roads where people travel to. I'm in a shore community. So when people travel to the shore here, they go down the main road, which is Route 72, or they go down Bay Avenue. And this one was on Bay Avenue. So it was on the main road that everybody goes on. I'm on the second main road or the third main road, Route 9. So everybody's in a good space. They were all good locations. Some would be more expensive. Some were asking that triple net, and that was not an option for me.
And
I was not going to pay.
One more financial question, because I just don't know how renting a space works. Like, what's the first step when you do want to take the plunge? Do they ask you for like first and last month's rent? Do they ask you, like, what is that financial commitment? Do they lock you in for 3 years? Like, what? It sounds scary to me. What is typical?
Yes. So all of what you said. So they typically want the first and last month's rent, and they do want a term lease, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, things like that. There are ways to negotiate those leases. I did negotiate a good lease where she was asking, I'll tell you what my rent is, just so you know. She was asking $1,750 for the rent.
Okay.
I didn't want to pay $1,750 for the rent. I had budgeted $1,500 a month for my rent. So we negotiated, and what we negotiated is the first year I paid $1,400. The second year I would pay $1,500, and this is the year that we'll renegotiate, or if it's doing well, and I'll move it up to what she wanted, which is $1,700, or we'll renegotiate for a longer term. I can keep it at $1,500. So there's ways you can sort of negotiate a lease, a long-term lease in increments, in other words.
Interesting.
Because the person just basically wants to know that you're a solid tenant and that you're going to be there for a term.
Right.
So, they don't necessarily need all that amount of money up front. What they want is somebody who's committed to being there.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so if they think you're a viable business and you're a good business, they'll work with you.
Good. That's awesome.
Now, I will say that if you're in a place where there's these marketing firms that do leasing for other people, they're not inclined to do that. That's when you get those triple net leases, and they're just leasing groups. So you got to find someone who's probably a private company, like she's a private owner that has a group. And so it works well. She's somebody you can talk to face to face. You want to make sure you have a landlord that you can talk to. You're not talking to a conglomerate.
Yeah.
All right, because we're not big business. We're small business. We don't want to be talking to conglomerates where you get nobody. You want to talk to somebody and be able to give them a sob story if you need, whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been amazing. I feel like there are so many takeaways. Absolutely, if people are thinking retail, but I think for any business, honestly, so much of what you said would benefit all of us. But I am just so thrilled at your success. Any regrets?
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, yeah, maybe. When I'm sleepy and tired, yes. I feel some days, but that's a good thing. I'm tired and exhausted, and sometimes I am overwhelmed. And it does get scary. You get scared that, am I going to be able to maintain? Am I going to is it always going to be a success? I don't want to ever disappoint. Last year, I had one client that I was disappointed with, and I literally cried. It wasn't my fault. It was a bad season. My dad was sick and he was passing away, and I couldn't be there. But I want my customers to be happy, and she didn't get the best possible service that she could have. I admit it. But according to her, because of the service, I think the atmosphere of my shop, and that means not just me, but everybody that comes in there, she was so kind about it. She was so gracious, and she was like, Stephanie, don't worry, you guys are great. And I want that from customers, even if, we make a misstep or something like that. I want people, and that was one of the reasons I definitely wanted to shop. I want people who come to my shop to feel loved on, really loved on. And we have what we call a balloon whisperer, one of my staff. She's an older lady. And when people come in, she just goes, they'll tell her their problems. And she's like, oh, you need a balloon for that. The balloon will take care of everything. And they love her. And she's like, I don't know why I get all the sob stories. I was like, because you listen. People love that. People just come in and they telling you about their events, and they take their time and they tell you those stories, and they want somebody like that. So I don't think they get that when we do it online as much, when we're emailing it. So
I'm the worst. If people try to tell me, like, we're having a baby shower and it's a boy, and I'm like, nope, that's enough. I'm like, I don't need to know anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I have to stop myself. I do. I have in the back of my head, I say, "Shut up, Stephanie," because I like to talk.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. You have to have a balance. And there are days where I don't come out from the back because I know that I like to talk, and I'll just leave it to somebody else to talk to the person
Yeah.
because I won't know when to, not get involved in things like that. So you have to kind of condition yourself when to speak and things like that. But as far as regrets, yeah, I don't really regret anything, honestly. I am so grateful. I am super duper grateful for just everything that has happened and how it's transpired, and it's a dream fulfilled. So
I am just so happy for you. It just seems like you are the perfect spot to be doing what you're doing. Wow. I'm just so
thank you.
impressed by you, and
Yeah, thank you.
congratulations.
Oh, thank you, thank you. One of the biggest exciting things was me getting that box truck
Oh yeah,
because
that
that was
just happened.
that was so scary. Just taking steps like that. Those are the things that I honestly love. And we gave a shout out to Mastermind, but I give out a shout to anyone who is another balloon decorator that comes alongside someone else in the business and encourages and supports them and helps them. And that's what I find I love about this business is that there's just other people in this industry, and they love helping each other. They
Yeah.
don't feel intimidated by each other. And we clap when somebody does something. How many times do you see on Instagram where somebody compliments somebody else's work? But
Yeah.
we do, we're like, that's amazing. That's beautiful. I love that about this business.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been,
All right.
I don't know, just like an uplifting episode. I just feel like I can conquer the world now.
All right. Well, you go forth and conquer, and we'll see each other in a few months, right?
You coming to Summit?
Of course.
Very good. All right.
right.
Well, thank you
I'll
so
see you
much. It was
then.
great chatting.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.